ANCAP video, we're going to have a little talk about the state officers. Now, I'll probably link you after you've watched my video. Check the description, the video description, and there'll be a link to a Larken Rose video, which I'm not going to say the title of in here, but it rhymes with booping slops, and that's going to be something that you might want to check out after this. What are state officers? Well, we live through lockdowns. Lockdown, you can say lockdown in terms of the country you're living in, because there was only one, there was not several. There was not stages, there was not grades, whatever they called them, there's not tiers. There was just one lockdown from 2020 to 2022. Around the same time, started like April. And the state officers essentially are government army. It consists of the police, it consists of the army itself, the national official army, but not public militias. Consists of lifeguards, consists of firefighters, but they're like the lowest level. Firefighters are the lowest level of state officers, doing the least of what government wants. If they broke off and were a series of independent businesses where you could call a firefighter a business, they'd be absolutely fine. Now, a lot of these are subsidised by tax. They are paid wages for doing a job by tax. The most obvious form of state officer is the police. But then you have a lot less obvious forms of state officer that are things like Antifa, that you can't really detect as working for the government, and they look like they're not working for the government, but they're actually funded by governments to do what they do, which is kind of a police force for the left, when the left is not in power, sort of thing. The state officers work for the right too, because the right essentially are the left. They're both statists. They both, I mean, I've been through this through many of my videos, you know, the comparisons between the left and the right that make them both socialists. You can go through the big list, you know, depend on tax, censorious, race and gender segregators, imprison people for not being stolen from, create foreign wars, all that sort of thing. The way a government gets its power over the public, you and me, who are doing trading. So let's ignore public sector, which is a misnomer. Public sector workers are people working paid by government taxes, so they don't generate their own income, they don't generate their own wealth via trade. So private sector generally generates its wealth via trade. You know, it creates services, it creates a product, or it sells a product, trades with other people consensually. That's private sector. Public sector paid by government, so no public service jobs should exist. I think there's a different term for it in America. I can't remember what the term for that is, but yeah, they shouldn't exist because they're paid via theft. And that's the same as the police and the army. They are paid via theft because taxation is theft. I did not sign any consensual or voluntary agreement or contract saying that I consent to the government stealing a percentage of my wages, or adding VAT to my shopping bill that I pay, or any of this stuff. You know, it's fine if you were allowed to consent. It's not fine, but if there was a government and it, well, first of all, if it allowed people to choose whether they want to be taxed or not, and it was like a subscription service, and the people who wanted to be taxed for services, that's not where any of the money goes, paid that tax, then, you know, that, first of all, that would be choice. That's not the government's MO. Second of all, the government would just collapse because it gets all of its money via tax, and it's not using that money on services. Generally, the politicians are just taking that money for themselves, spreading it between the elites in government. It doesn't actually go on services, that's why all the services are so shit. But mainly, where the money is going that is stolen, now we're introduced to the cycle, of course, the big circle of taxation, preservation. Money that the government demands the public pay money. It's not actually paying anything, obviously that's stealing, that's theft. The government demands the public pay money, the public do not consent to it, so the government is therefore just stealing money from the public. How can it just steal money from the public if you say no? Well, it's got police officers and army. So the police officers, their primary function in everything they do, all other considered secondary, no duty of care to the public. So everything you see a police officer do that isn't to do with taxation is a sideshow, like a presentation, a theatricality. Its main goal is to imprison you or bash you over the head if you do not agree to being stolen from by government, the taxation thing. If you don't pay your taxes, the goal of the police's existence is to charge you and imprison you for it. Why would that be? Because all their wages are paid for via taxes and they work directly for the government. They do not work against the government, they work for the government. The government's their employer, the government pays their wages from stolen money, so it doesn't actually pay them at all, basically. It's stolen money from us, and it's just giving them to the police so that the police can continue demanding that we get our money stolen. And over again, the cycle repeats like that. So when you see a policeman, you're like, oh, they're just like us, they're just normal people. They've got a family, they go back to their family home and they look after their kids and their wife in their big family home. That family home is theft from the public. Same with the house of a politician, a government official. They are paid for by theft. They don't pay for their house or their family, feeding their family, by trading anything or any honest means that the private sector do. There's no capitalism there. Of course, capitalism is illegal under the auspices of a government. That's why the black market is the free market, and black markets pop up under socialist regimes and get suppressed again. Police don't generate any money. It just gets given like the stolen goodie bags from us, who actually, we're doing the work to trade and generate money, and we're just having it straight out stolen from us and given to these cops so that they can be around to steal from us some more. Same with the army. I've got a phrase in my head: an army marches on its stomach. That's an old historical kind of quip, a phrase about the army. Actually, an army marches on theft. In order to have an army doing whatever it does in a foreign country, it needs to eat, it needs to sleep all night, and that's again paid for by people at home who are working to trade. Us, unless we get drafted and then we become, you know, the prisoners. You can go into the prison system as well. What's a prisoner? A prisoner it's very much the same being in prison as it is outside prison in a socialist system under a socialist government. You get, you know, welfare handouts, you get paid for your bedding via theft, you get given food via theft, you get to live in this hyper-controlled authoritarian system, you get to live in safety. There'll be a bunch more videos about that, I'm sure. And so that's what a state officer is. That's what a member of the police or army is. There are other things too. There are, like, lifeguards is a big one that I've been thinking about recently. Lifeguards are like fake police of the oceans. I've looked into it, I don't think there's any legal ability for them to police the oceans. Like, they're not able to arrest you if you don't go where they say, but I've looked into it and they can just, if they get angry enough and triggered enough at you not doing whatever they say, then they can just call the police, and then the police will, on their behalf, just arrest you for not doing what they say and not being sea bullied by these communists who think they own the sea. I was looking into property ownership of the sea. Obviously there's lots of people who think countries own waters, so you have like the international waters, then you have like the country owned waters, which is apparently like meant to be like a sea owned by the government. On the land you have landowners. They're like more honest people, to be honest, except when they're like conglomerates of landowners or governments or national trust type things, thinking they own portions of the land. They could be actual landowners who either inherited the land or worked to obtain the land themselves. And on the beaches, they own the land up to a certain point, which is I think the tidal bit. So the max high tide is like a marker where the land that a person owns on the land with a beach kind of ends. So if you walk onto a beach and you're walking between beaches, as long as it's a tidal zone, I think, like between high tide and low tide, if you're walking along that bit, it's supposedly not owned by anyone, as in it's not owned by the private landowner of the beach, but the government will try and claim ownership of that. And I think the lifeguards and the police come into that as well. And they think because the government believe that they own the sea, that they can send these lifeguards out after you. Yeah, lifeguards are an infuriating one. And so I'm going to put some clips in of my last encounter with lifeguards the other day, which made me very angry. Because I wanted a nice day out where I'd actually get out to do some bodyboarding and make a video, like my first proper bodyboarding video. And I did, but like not long after I got into the ocean, 4 separate either lifeguards or surf school people working for the lifeguards, essentially working for the police who are working for the government, like approached me because I wouldn't swim between their flags. I refused to swim where they wanted me to be, and they're like, "You're right, mate. You're right, mate. Get out, swim by the flags." And then they're like honking the horns of a car out on the shore. Like they got a megaphone and honking horns and flashing lights from a car, and they're just like trying to bully me from afar and target me from afar. They're like, "Would the gentleman with," describes me, "please go and swim between the flags?" I'm like, "No, I don't consent to swim between the flags. I take my own risks." That's another thing, is safety is always authoritarian control. You can't enforce a safety measure without trying to behavior control another person who isn't you and trying to assume authority above them, which you do not have, unless of course you're a landowner and someone's on your land, in which case they're violating property, which I was not. The government do not own the beach, the lifeguards do not own the beach. So I was telling everyone who approached me, I do not consent. I choose to take my own risks by being here. I know the risks. I do not want you to devote any resources whatsoever to rescuing me. If I get stuck, or if there's rocks, or if there's a riptide or something, I want you to leave me the fuck alone. But like the mindset of your average rapist, they kept coming back and kept telling me and kept sending people out to me. And there were 4 different occasions where they'd send someone out to me. One of them was on a jet ski, those ski things in the ocean, you know, one of those half boat half bike things, came out to me with a lifeguard guy on it, and he's like trying to tell me to swim where he wants me to. And I'm like, I think he was talking about, I don't know, he didn't explain himself. I think he was trying to talk about riptides or something, but he didn't explain himself, and I was standing like waist height in the water, and there was no tides or anything pulling at me or whatever. And it's like, fuck this guy, just coming right up to me on probably a vehicle that was paid for by tax, I imagine. So a stolen vehicle, essentially. Just going around to people and trying to bully them into being in the part of the sea where they want them to be, so that they can control them and observe them, basically like a prison warden, with their binoculars and their shouting, do this, do that, through their megaphones. Not cool at all. Anyway, I'll end this video by dropping some clips of the lifeguard portion of the state officers. If I ever have any entanglements with police or army that I'm able to film, I will probably drop them on the channel in the same way and talk a little bit more to you about state officers. But for now, here's my day being ruined as I was harassed by the sea communists. Watch my outro clips. Also check the link in the description to Larken Rose's video, and I'll catch you all later, guys. So I've got a bunch of bodyboarding videos on my channel, but they're not really bodyboarding videos, they're like debriefs. See the yellow sign there? The water commies are out. try and avoid those. There's another water commie driving around in his car. There's another one, look. They got the colours for it as well. They also got the flags for it, but shouldn't be here. Better dead than red. It's a water commie and some surfer learners doing it on the sand. I don't like going where the lifeguard tells me between the fucking flags, but I'll go to where the other surfing people are, sort of. Some lifeguard fuckers whistling. Hopefully not all me. Fucking lifeguard is whistling to everyone to go to another side. I think they own the beach. I hate them. They're not the owners. I'll just ignore him while he piss off.
Go to the bodyboard, go to the lifeguard track, make your way back to shore. Yellow flag area. This goes as part of the beach, the down window foot, that's the flag. And go into the red and yellow flag.
You hear this? This is bullshit. Go out way further so they can't reach me, dickheads. Such assholes, these lifeguards, it's pissing me off, that one. Also, I don't consent to being saved. It's like mountain rescue. Take my own risks. These guys are pretending to be like policemen. I do not consent to being saved. I think they're narrowing the flags each time. It's ridiculous. Asshole commies are now sending people out to fucking like yell at people. He's saying to my rich side, I'm saying I do not consent and they do not own the beach. And he's not saying it to he's not saying it to the surfers, and he's not saying it to the children. There are children all around me. The lifeguard is not approaching. The lifeguard is not approaching the and again, I'm like knee high in the water. I'm not really going to be dragged out where I'm should have filmed that interaction really, because I'm pissed at that fucking guy. I'm pissed at that guy. Literally, I'm in a crowd of people and he's come straight up to me and they're like using a fucking truck. Fucking sea commie. I don't know if that was an official lifeguard or a member of the surfing club. It sort of looks like wearing the gear of the surfing club. It's rubbish in hindsight.
Are you going to move into the flags, buddy?
What?
Can you move into the flags?
You own the beach. I told the other guy there, I don't consent, alright?
We're moving into the flags.
I told the other guy, alright? You've already told me. No, I don't consent, alright? I don't consent.
Oh, that's right, mate.
I can't deal with him. Well, lots to say about that. Lots to say. These are the people I'm talking about. SJWs in the water. Can't fucking avoid them. Ignoring the water communists. Honestly, looking for a place where I can just get away from the fucking lifeguards. I'm not even like... I'm not even knee high. This is like... what they introduce us to. Like, first of all, I don't think there's a landlord of the beach. That's my thought. My belief. I don't think there's a I think there's a landlord, maybe the beach itself, the land. With the waters, we get into things like territorial waters. I feel better now I'm near the surfer boy. There's a jet ski guy. I'm going to try it for a bit here until some fucking sea communist comes and yells at me. A sign like a waiver or something, is it called a waiver? When I get near the beach, like, I do not want to be saved. Right here next. What? How you doing? Yeah, I'm good, thank you. I've heard already. Huh? I've heard already, alright? Just please leave me be. I do not consent. I do not consent. There we go. What was that? 3 sea commies now? Some of them are, right, oh no, 4. Because there was that one with the, what do you call it? The car with the fucking horn on it. They think they fucking own the beach. We have to do a whole video and maybe even campaign against these fuckers. Again, I choose my own risks. Safety is authoritarianism. And again, it's also targeted because it's done to me and it's not done to any of the people around me. Look, that guy over there. Where's the jet ski fella? It's not going up to him. You see that? I was right next to him, but I was the one targeted. Very pissed off with this experience. That was 4 different sea commies going at me. I'm going to film their disgusting shit over there, I think. Could have been a good day until that happened. Just his job is like being paid all this money to have this like fucking jet ski thing, and job is to actually go around all the people harassing specific ones that he feels like harassing, not harassing other ones. It seems like pick and choose. Like, see, that guy got away scot-free, he's absolutely fine over there, and it looks like the surf school people are either the lifeguards or they're involved with the lifeguards. Still, the colours of communism are very appropriate. There shouldn't be these sea police. They should leave people to it. Rescue people who consent. And I do not consent. Maybe I have to wear some like armbands that is like coloured after I sign a waiver, so they can get their binoculars out, see me and go, oh, that's one of the guys we shouldn't save because he said so. Same thing for like mountaineering and shit. Look at these assholes. I want to get a view on my enemy, essentially. There they are. Jerks of the sea, thinking they actually own it. Flashing me in their truck. Well, that was a bit of a spoiled day out, to be fair. Swim between the fucking flags my ass. Quite disillusioned. What I need is to find like unlifeguarded beaches, essentially. There's got to be a ton of beaches in the UK and England that have no lifeguards. They literally just go out on on your own and no one comes out to you. You've got to find out where those are, and also just go to war on them as a concept, to be honest. Another thing about it is like being free to make your own choices, your own risks, being free to make your own mistakes without intervention is how you learn. You know, if you can't be left alone to make your own mistakes, left alone by people who pretend to be set above you as superiors or authority who shouldn't exist, then you can't make your own mistakes and you can't learn anything, because people are literally stopping you learn, which is what happened there also. It's like, I'm trying to learn bodyboarding, I can't do it with lifeguards around because they're stopping me learn. Something else that comes into it is like you make more mistakes from being watched, I think. Like you get like anxiety and stuff from being like observed and watched and scrutinized and spied on. Try living like that. It was a disappointment of the day, if I include the bits with the state officers. Oh god, more commie stuff. There's flying Ukrainian flag in England instead of the English flag, which is what we are. And I've been up there in lockdown. God, it feels like lockdown today after what's been happening. I forgot that I actually came here during actual lockdown. Up here, okay, it's a fire station. The slightly milder form of commies. Basically, if they're private businesses, they'd be okay. But they're state run, as far as I know.
Thank you for watching.